it works. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a couple minutes to see if anyone signs on here. Not sure how well it will work, so if you do sign on, go ahead and comment, make sure that you can hear me. Hopefully the microphone's that you're able to hear. If you're just signing on, make sure to let us know where you're checking in from. We're going to give it a couple minutes to see where people are checking on from and let some more people get signed on. Let us know if you can hear us well too. I'm not sure how well the upload speed is going to work. So if you can hear us clearly when I'm talking, make sure to let me know. Otherwise, we'll have to maybe try and find a different setup. Okay, Mr. Baker, looks like you can hear us. Tractor Trucks and Pups, thank you. So while we're waiting for some more people to sign on, one of the things I want to do is thank the channels that have helped our channel grow. Shout outs, I think, is probably the #1 way that YouTube channels grow, at least especially when they're starting out, until other people start to find your content. So one of the first channels that ever gave me a shout out was Alex, West Coast Logging. So if you haven't subscribed to him, make sure to go check his channel out. Logger Wade gave me a shout out, and which helped my channel grow tremendously in the very beginning. And then To the Top Crane also gave me a big shout out. And then there was Daniel Boone logging videos. He puts out a bunch of great videos and gave me a shout out. There's a couple others, I can't think of them off of the top of my head. But again, if you're trying to grow your channel or want to shout out, pretty much the one thing that I always did is just sent a video, asked them to check it out, and if they liked it, then hopefully they would give me a shout out. So we're here with my grandpa. This is Bob Zumstein. He started out as the owner of Sherman and Zumstein, co-owner with Bill Sherman. And then after Bill retired, it became White and Zumstein. And then once Grandpa retired, he sold the company to Gene White. And now it's still White and Zumstein, but it's completely owned by Gene White. So since we're here, go ahead and ask any questions you can think of. He started logging in 1963?
Yes.
Okay. So he started logging in 1963, so he's experienced all different sorts of logging. He has a book here where he's got some pictures that he's going to share with us, kind of talk a little bit about the way it was when he started out logging. But definitely this live feed will go a lot smoother if you guys come up with any questions that you can think of for him. So yeah, I wasn't even a thought in anyone's eye in 1963. My mom wasn't even born in 1963. Did you ever use any Timberjack skidders?
No, we had Clark skidder.
What type of Clark skidder did you have?
It was a 666.
A 666.
Size of it. That was the model. And
Yeah.
they put out a lot of them, and they were very popular back then.
Did it have a winch or a grapple?
Oh, it had a gearmatic winch. It was very temperamental. If you didn't have it just right, you couldn't drag the line out because the brake would drag too much. So it was.
Did it have an adjustable brake on it to try and fight that? Or?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it had you could adjust it. And Bill, my partner, he was a good mechanic, so we got along pretty good with it. But if you left it set through one winter or something like that, you'd have to tear it all apart and free it up in the spring. So it wasn't a hydraulic winch, it was all manual, and it rusted bad inside. So
what, from just sweating, or was there a way that water would get in?
Yeah, sweating, sweat caused it, yeah.
Country Boy Logging, thanks for asking the question. So unfortunately, he doesn't have any sort of a thought on a 240 Timberjack. He's never worked with one. What's
We've done a lot of logging with the D4.
With cat?
Yeah,
D4 cat.
17A or 7.
A 7U?
7U series, yeah.
That's like this one, right?
Yep, that's right.
So this is what he started out with.
With the canopy and a winch on it. Otherwise, it looked exactly like that.
GMB is asking, did you guys always log locally or did you travel very far?
We mostly was pretty local here around the Woodland Longview area. Yeah.
What's the furthest you ever traveled?
Oh, we traveled down to the coast in the Oregon, Tillamook Burn area.
Yeah. Okay. Did you guys do
formed white and Zumstein log that we done quite a bit of work up Mountain Hood area.
Okay. Did you guys do more private Forest Service or state land?
No, we mostly worked for timber companies. We started out doing private jobs, but it didn't keep us busy. So then we decided we got to branch out here. So we went to work for Swanberg Brothers. Yeah, that was a small mill in Kalama where RSG Forest Products is now. And they had a mill right there on the Columbia River, and they used the Columbia River for their log storage area, and we logged for them around Clark County all over here. They had quite a few land holdings of their own. So,
is it the same property that RSG is on now?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know if it's the same mill or did they?
Oh no, they tore that mill
completely
down.
Tore that mill down.
It was right on the edge of the river there, and that was.
Gotcha. John Warren wants to know, how long did you log for? So you started your company in '63. Did you do any logging before that?
Oh yes, I logged here a home on the farm for the neighbors around here. I started with my dad when I was 13, and I worked with him all through.
And that was
my
primarily
school years.
That was primarily logging your 80-acre farm here?
Yeah, this, and then the neighbors, 2 of the neighbors, we logged a lot on their places.
What type of equipment did you use for logging?
A Clee-Track.
Clee-Track.
Yeah. It was, had a blade and no winch. We had to use a drawbar. And but we made a lot of money, a lot of mud in the wintertime. Oh yeah. Except
did you pretty much have to
stop?
stop?
Good, then we could really log. Yeah. It was good logging when it was
officially retired was
6 years ago. Yeah.
Only 6? It's got to be more than that. Because you were retired when I was in high school.
Was it? Oh, I guess the time flies, doesn't it?
I would say at least 10 years ago, probably.
Yeah, probably 10.
But you never really retired because you still kept your John Deere 550. And then it was probably 6 years ago that you ended up buying the Link Belt
log loader.
Mm-hmm. So still does some side jobs from time to time, or now that we started Blue Line Landworks, he comes out and helps us bid jobs. So I don't know if he'll ever stop logging officially, to answer your question, John, but pretty much started when he was 13 back in the 50s. Brendan Farming, what is the biggest tree that you ever cut down?
Well, we could show you on let me get that picture. Can you put it on here?
Yeah, I can try and show a picture if you can find a picture.
Excuse me a minute.
He's going to grab a picture for you, Brendan, of the biggest tree that he ever cut down. Logger Braden, I have never actually met Logger Wade personally. He was one of the first people to give me a shout out other than Alex. And so we've stayed in touch ever since then. We text back and forth every once in a while, but I'm actually hoping to try and plan a trip maybe out to go meet him at some point and maybe do a video for him. That's my hope anyways, is to try and do that. So this picture is...
We're highly logging here.
The biggest tree they ever cut down.
With an Edco 70-foot tower.
And you guys bought the Edco brand new in the 80s?
We had it custom built. And down at Glide, Oregon. And this is the biggest tree we yarded with it. Yeah, it was a lone old growth out in the second row stand, and we had a lot of trouble getting it to the landing because it was hooked together. It was two logs, and they were both short, but you can see the size of them. So our yarder wouldn't pull it. So we had to keep rolling it around out there until we finally broke the wood that was holding right there in the center. You see a black spot? Yeah, that's...
To get it bucked in half, you had to keep pulling it around?
Yeah, we had to break that center wood because the saws, they'd done a pretty good job of bucking it, but they couldn't reach the center. So
then you just pulled on it with the yarder?
They thought they had it cut, but it didn't come apart very easy. It took us a half an hour to get the thing broke because we didn't have a saw big enough to reach that far in. Yeah.
Brendan, I see your comment there. I'll click show here so that people can see the comment, and then I'll make sure and check out your channel after the live stream, and then try and give you a shout out in another future video. GMB says, were you logging big pieces of land or small pieces of land? What would you say the average size?
Mostly big.
When you say big, how big by the acres?
Oh, we made 500-acre clear cuts for Longview Fiber Company.
So before they had restrictions on how big a clear cuts you could make.
Yeah, they decided that was too far for the birds to fly, so we had to start leaving leaf trees in them.
So there was no such thing as leaf trees when you started out?
Now you have to leave buffers. Yeah, there was no buffers back them days. You just cut as much as you had, and they had a lot of land, sections of land. So that's 640 acres is a section. That's 1 square mile, and that's a big clear cut when you get that size cut.
Logger Braden, for Blue Line Landworks, we don't have a skidder. We almost bought a timberjack at one point. It was in really good condition, but we just didn't, at the time we weren't going to borrow any money to buy anything, so we just had to pass up on it. We just bought a Dresser TD9H that we just finished rebuilding the winch on and built an arch for. So that's what we use. Grandpa has, we also, in some of our videos, you'll see a D4D that we use that was built in the 60s. Still a super reliable dozer, but the steering clutches are going to need replaced on it soon. And you got to be an octopus to drive it. It has 8 or 9 levers, I think, to operate the thing, and it can definitely be a hassle if you don't have a lot of practice on it. Grandpa has a John Deere 550G that he still uses. So rubber tire skidders are a thing out here, but we don't personally use them for any of the small jobs that we do. Let me see if I can catch up on. Yeah, Daniel Miller, the Kubota excavator probably wouldn't even be able to wiggle that log there. Slightly bigger than the stuff that we do with it. I mean, the Kubota has amazed me beyond belief. I can't believe that thing moves around 40-foot sticks of wood, and if we can't lift it, then we're able to drag it. We did that entire little job solely with the excavator, which is the only way that you can really make it profitable. If you have to start hauling equipment in there or something like that for 4 loads, it eats into your profit margin right away. So being able to do the entire thing with the excavator was great. I don't know what the long-term effects are going to be on the excavator. That I would assume we're probably going to wear out idler, pulley, stuff like that faster, but that's yet to be seen. So if that ever happens, I'll let you guys know. GMB, I see your comment there. 40 acres in Vermont. If they log more than 40 acres in Vermont, then they're probably going to get a visit.
Sounds like it. Wouldn't be surprised.
What kind of chainsaw do you have? You use Stills now, but what type of chainsaws have you used over the years?
Homelite and McCullough used to be the choice of the logger here in the Northwest. And they built a lot of good saws, and but they didn't keep up with some of the German saws. So we ended up having to buy stills because they just ran better. You could depend on them better, and the American manufacturers just kind of they didn't spend the money for updates, and they just didn't keep up with technology, so they lost out.
Nuts 319, I see you logged in there. Nuts 319 is another one that has a great channel, and he also gave me some shout outs over the last couple years, which has definitely helped my channel grow. So definitely go check out his channel, subscribe to him, give him some support. Logger Braden, I see you there. Again, same as Brendan, I'll try and go check out, I'll make your comment visible there, and then I will try and go check out your channel after the live feed. Brendan's channel, what type of logs are you logging? What type of wood? Nuts 319, are you going to be going to OLC? I haven't figured out whether that's a for sure thing or not. Are we going to see you there? For those of you that are interested, the Oregon Logging Conference is on February 20th, coming up this Thursday through the 22nd. So Thursday through Saturday. And it's one of the biggest logging conferences that I'm aware of. I asked Logger Wade. He says that it's bigger than the Paul Bunyan Logging Conference. So if any of you are going to be there, definitely let me know. I'm going to be there all 3 days. There's a bunch of other people with YouTube channels that are going to be there. So definitely let us know if you're going to be there, and find us if you happen to see us around. I'm sure I'll have either a Blue Line Landworks hat or jacket or both. I might even have some hats there to give away. So definitely try and find us. Grandpa's also going to come down with his original business partner, Bill Sherman. They will most likely be there on Saturday, I think is the plan. So if you happen to be there Saturday, you'll have a chance to meet Grandpa in person and meet his original business partner, Bill Sherman, who is a few years older than him. If you have any other questions for Grandpa, make sure to throw them into the comments. I'm trying to make sure that I've kept up with everyone's comments here. Country Boy Log, and I see that you put in Maine you can clear cut 60% of the land. So does that mean any size parcel you have you can clear cut 60%? Or are you saying that you can thin up to 60%? That's 319. Do you know if anyone else is going to be there from out east? I know Alex S-Skate's going to be there. Again, if you haven't gone and checked out Alex's channel, make sure to. Also, if you guys haven't got a chance to see my latest video, I don't know if it's my best video or not, but it's definitely one that I'm probably most proud of, or one of the ones I'm most proud of, even though the 125-foot pole video, it was fun to put together. I wouldn't say it's the video I'm most proud of, but it definitely has the most views with almost 700,000 views. But if you get a chance to check out my latest video, definitely share it if you get a chance. It's solely about the guys in the rigging, and it was definitely fun to make it. I used my handheld camera. It's a little camera called an Osmo Pocket, and I went down in the brush with the guys to take video of them. I will tell you that those guys are fantastic moving through the brush, and it is very difficult to move through the brush with one hand while you're trying to film with the other hand. It was definitely a challenge, but I think that the video came out pretty well. Also, leave some feedback if you like the commentary in the background. I've had 90% positive reviews so far from what people have told me. My wife hates it. I think it's just because during the editing process, she has to listen to it so many times because you got to time the video to the music and the commentary. But if you have an opinion about it, let me know what you think of it. I might try and do some other videos with maybe some commentary in the background. Daniel Miller, it's pretty neat to know you're in law enforcement too. I've been doing both now for about 20 years. Stay safe in and out of the woods. Thank you, Daniel. It definitely keeps life interesting. It'd be way easier to make more videos if logging was a full-time job for me. I always tell Grandpa that if he had been if he had owned White and Zumstein Logging probably 5 years longer, I'd probably be a logger rather than what I do for my current career. But I found a way that I can kind of do some of both, so I enjoy that too. Brendan, he's been logging since the 50s, and even once he retired about 10 years ago or so, he went out and bought some more equipment and started doing some side jobs.
Sounds like me.
So I'm telling him about you.
Oh.
He started doing some side jobs. I don't think he'll ever quit logging. He's really got into his sawmills lately. He has a band sawmill and a circular sawmill. So the last decent patch of timber that he has on his place, he was thinking about clear cutting it, but at this point, I think we're going to end up falling one tree at a time as we need them for the sawmill. So he's pretty excited about the sawmill, and the band sawmill works great right now, and he's just getting the circular sawmill put together. Cotton Top 3 is going to be there. Yeah, I saw that. Sent him an email the other day to see if he was going to be there or not. What was the most rewarding thing that you got out of logging? If you can't think of it off the top of your head, I'll give you some time. Try and think of the most rewarding thing. I'll go through some more comments.
Probably working with Link Sadler. Working with the crew is always good. I used to get right out on the rigging with them some days, especially if we were shorthanded, and work with them. But you always end up with some pretty colorful people out there that come out to work in the woods, and that was the most fun, I think. Then going into at the end of a hard day, go in and have a cool beer or a few cool beers at the tavern afterwards. That was a lot of good times had there. A lot of footage was logged out of the tavern there.
A lot of footage that was logged out of the tavern. I like that quote. That's probably a quote we'll have to save for future reference. Desert Logger, almost positive you said you were going to be at Oregon Logging Conference with your wife. Is that correct? Country Boy Logging says, any property you strip the land to 60% of the land unless you're turning it into farmland. Okay. Let's see if anyone else has any other questions, make sure to put them in the comments so that I can ask. Grandpa Logger Braden, I see your comment. We log about 200 to 300 acres. Is that clear cut 200 to 300 acres? Is that thinning jobs? How's that divided up?
You asking me?
No, I was asking one of the comments. What's the biggest clear cut you ever did? Is it one of these across the river?
It was 550 acres.
550 acres was the biggest clear cut.
Uh-huh. It was almost a section of land, but we had some creeks in it, so we couldn't cut it off.
So that was after they came out with some buffer zones, or the creeks were just in the way?
No, that's when they had 35-foot buffers.
Okay.
And we cut everything except, and there were several creeks on this section, but we logged the whole section except for the buffers along the creeks.
So a little under 100 acres worth of buffers then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was it steep ground or fairly flat ground?
It was steep.
And was it, so you yarder logged the whole thing then?
Yeah, most of it. Oh, we always had some skidder ground on in places you could log, So
okay.
And that was before shovel logging, so we didn't shovel log then, but so machines weren't adequate to do that.
When did you transition from, well, you were telling me about the original A-frame loader that you had. You have some pictures somewhere, but we weren't able to find them.
Right.
How would you describe the A-frame? How would you use it?
It was A-frame about 30 feet high, and it was mounted on the back of a 1.5-ton truck, and it laid down over the cab like this, and then you would raise it up, and it was anchored to a stump. Had to haul back, went up and through a block and out to a stump, and that was what held the A-frame up. And then the main line went back up through the A-frame and down, and that was your loading line. And then we used end hooks.
So would it hang off the back of the truck then?
Yeah.
At an angle?
Yeah.
And then you would lift logs with it.
Yeah.
So you would back trucks underneath?
We'd have outriggers underneath on the frame there, and we would roll a log under there, and that would hold the back of it up while there was nothing like hydraulic outriggers.
So if the A-frame hung off the back of the truck, you would lift a log up, and then would you back a log truck underneath of it?
Yeah. We had a brow log too.
Okay.
The brow log was between outside of the truck, and you buried that a little bit in the dirt so that it didn't roll, and then the logs would slide up there and up over that, and then up the stakes, up the side of the stakes, and
okay.
And your A-frame was centered pretty much over the
truck. Okay. Nuts 319 wants to know, Grandpa, in your time logging, what years were the best for working in the woods? Was there a set of years that you think were the best, whether it was just because of the type of jobs you were on, or
the early years when there was no regulations?
No regulations was the best years. So just because the no regulations because of no stream buffers, or just everything in general was easier?
Everything was easier. Yeah. You could make mud as much as you wanted mud. Yeah.
You didn't have to worry about dirt compaction or anything like that.
I'm not saying it was the best thing to do, but the land heals itself pretty well. So, and all that mud I made back then is now good tree growing ground. So,
did you ever log a piece of land twice? Did you ever clear cut?
Almost. When I worked for Ben Thomas right out of high school, when we were still using the sled donkeys and wooden trees, I went back there and logged adjacent to actually where we were. This was in the Forest Service, up the Lewis River, in the Gifford Pinchot Forest, when they were logging real heavy back in the 50s and 60s. And we logged that, and they replanted it. And I went up with Gene White, and we logged right adjacent to that, the same age timber that was harvested then was replanted, and all that area. When they cut back then, they logged one area out, a big area, and then so that it was all planted at the same time and grew up the same time again. Anyway, we went back there and thinned that here about 3-4 years ago. The same, so I actually have harvested and went back and relogged in the same place. Not the same patch, but the same area.
What about here on your farm? When you were 13 years old and logging the farm with your dad, did you guys replant anything, or everything that you logged since then?
Unfortunately, Dad was farming and had cows, and he didn't plant trees. But I did. As soon as I got the place, I planted trees, and we're now taking some of those out.
Yeah.
So I did it right here on the farm, even.
So in other words, the trees will grow back. As long as you replant some will grow back.
Yeah.
Country Boy Logging, do you like the Johnson Red 670? I don't know what that means. Do you know what a Johnson Red 670 is?
Johnson Red, that's a chainsaw.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what it is, so maybe.
Think so. Johnson Red is a.
Did you ever run one?
No, never seen. I've seen them at museums, but yeah, that's all. I've never run one or know of anybody that had one.
Country Boy Logging, if that's what you're referring to, let me know, because I have no idea what it is. Anyone else have any questions specifically for Grandpa? or anyone else on here that's going to be going to the Oregon Logging Conference coming up. You were looking at some pictures in here, where that picture that you were showing me of the spar tree, is that, did you ever do any logging like that?
Yeah, we yard-yarded after my brother Joe Zumstein logging. He was a big-time logger, and he had, I think, 15 trucks at one time here in Woodland, stationed out of Woodland here. And Bill Sherman, when we bought our first steel tower, we went logging behind him and just yarded the unmerchantable material because the Forest Service, in their wisdom, decided that they needed to yard all that stuff into the landing and burn it.
So any of the stuff that was
off the ground, make it easier to plant. Then now
they want everything out there.
They want everything out there for the bugs to eat and for keep the ground from erosion and things. So now it's better to leave all that trash out there.
I'm waiting for him to come back and decide that the creeks are too shaded and that we need to go in and cut all the creek buffers out.
Yeah,
Someday some scientist is going to come along and say that that's what needs to happen, because like you said, before they wanted all the creeks completely cleared out of logs, now they're paying people millions of dollars to go put logs back into the creeks. So it's pretty wild. So Grandpa's looking for a picture here that he was showing me. It's pretty interesting. What type of yarding did you call it?
Yarding. Yarding unmerchantable material.
Okay, yarding unmerchantable material.
Yeah, it was a crazy idea.
Did you guys not haul pulp?
It was very expensive too to have that done.
Did you guys not haul any pulpwood to the mills?
No.
Just wasn't profitable?
There wasn't enough market for pulpwood at that time to pay to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. There's some old still.
Alex, sounds like you've done some yarding. Good to see you here in the chat. When was the most recent that you ever had to do it? Country Boy Logging, how old, what year is the saw that you're referring to, the Johnson Red 670? Anyone that's still here?
There's a Clark skidder right there. Look at that.
Yeah. Where that picture went?
I don't know.
Grandpa has a photo album of all of his logging photos, but we couldn't find it before the live feed was going to start. So if anyone else has any other questions that they can think of, they want to ask Grandpa, go ahead and ask them. I know the last time we did a live with Grandpa, it seemed to be pretty popular. A lot of people liked it. We were going to try and do it more regularly, and then life just got busy. I hardly posted any videos from March of last year until January of this year. So my goal is to post videos more often. I went out three days before work last week to go get video of Chilton logging. I'm going to be putting together a video for Bowman carriages that you'll see. It'll probably come out right at the first day of the log show. And then I have a couple different yarding videos. They're going to be doing full suspension logging over a creek and over a bunch of treetops in the buffer zone along the creek. So I'm planning on going out tomorrow morning to get video of that. That's going to be with their TTY 90 yarder. Did you ever do any wooden spar logging?
Yeah.
That's the picture that he's actually trying to pull up here, Alex, is a wooden spar tree for the yarding. Well, here's a picture for you real quick. I'll show you this one before. I think it's a matter of forced perspective to some degree, because I don't think that the tree is 14 to 20 feet in diameter, but it is a big tree regardless, and some creative photography to make it look that big. Big tree no matter what, but I don't think it's 20.
The truck, have to point out the truck.
Yeah, there's the truck right there. There's a guy standing. but I have a feeling that this tree is a lot closer to the camera than that truck or that guy. A creative photographer nonetheless, though. And I've seen that picture come across Facebook a couple times on the old logging pictures page. Alex, I don't know if you were here when I said, but Grandpa's also going to be at the logging show with his original.
There's an A-frame.
Okay. Grandpa's going to be at the log show with his original logging business partner, Bill Sherman. The plan is for them to be there on Saturday, so you'll get a chance to meet them. As Grandpa said a little bit earlier in the live feed, there was a lot of board feet moved from inside the tavern, so maybe we'll get a chance to go out to pizza and we can log a whole bunch more board feet.
I'm not going to find it.
I'll see if I can flip through here real quick. Anyone else with any other questions for Grandpa while we're still on here? There's a lot of pictures in this book. Oh, right here. So this, and you guys did the same thing with the wooden spar tree?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this.
No, not with a wooden tree, but steel spar.
Okay. Yeah. With your yarder?
Yeah.
So this.
But that's all the way around.
This wooden spar, and Grandpa said it looks like they logged from every single direction, pulling everything up to here.
You can't hardly see the spar.
No.
There.
This book has a lot of reflectiveness on it. They're just yarding with log tongs here?
Yeah. I think they're logging with tongs.
Is this like yours that you had, your cable loader?
Yeah, something like that.
How long did you use a cable loader for?
Oh, that's about 15 years.
What size mill do you have? Sawmill.
It's, I think 38 inch. It'll cut logs that big.
That's your circular sawmill or the?
No, that's a bandsaw.
The bandsaw.
Yeah.
And is it a Wood-Mizer 40?
I can't remember the.
I'm pretty sure it's a 40 because I think Brian Tremblay has a 70. Desert Logger, I did a mill video on a Wood-Mizer 70. You could probably look that up on my channel. Grandpa has a Wood-Mizer 40, I'm pretty sure. And then what's the name of your other sawmill that you have, the circular saw one?
It's a Mighty Mite.
A Mighty Mite? And how big can it cut?
Any size. You start from the top of the log and work your way down.
Okay.
It don't matter how big it is. If you can get the saw over the top of it, it'll cut it.
Okay. Gotcha. GMB, does he have any books about logging history or anything that he would recommend? Well, this is a pretty cool book. If anyone, I don't know if you could still find this or not. It was $30 when you bought it. Who knows how long ago? But this book, Timber Country, it's got well over 100 pages in here with pictures on every single page. I'll try and move it around a little bit because there's a lot of glare there. Any other books about logging that you would recommend or that you have?
Oh yeah, there's lots of them right there. There's two more of them right there that we just had here.
Two more of these?
Yeah, right there to the right.
Oh, okay. Where did you get all these?
Bottom.
So this is Timber Country Revised. So I would recommend finding Timber Country because
yeah, this is the original one.
This is all about logging in the
logging.
Pacific Northwest, older logging. These pictures aren't super old though; they're probably from the 70s. Most of them are color photos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Grandpa has a museum that we're gonna hopefully do a tour of someday, whether we do it live or we'll probably do live and we'll do a actual video on it. But as part of the museum, he has a model donkey and fore and aft road. That's the name of it, right?
Yeah.
And then a mill pond,
or it's also called a pole road.
a pole road, and it has a mill pond and everything. And then you little kids can sit there and run it and yard as many logs as they want to yard into the mill pond. So, and then the whole inside of the museum, it's mounted on a trailer. It's I think a 10 or an 8 by 14 foot trailer. It has all sorts of original antique logging equipment in it. So someday we'll try and do a live feed in the museum and then also put together a video on YouTube of it. If you guys have any other video requests too of a specific type of logging that's maybe in the Pacific Northwest or something specific you're looking for, let me know and I will try to do it. West Coast logging shoot. Wish I would have known you were gonna do a live with Grandpa. I sitting down to eat. Be back in a bit. Alex, it was great to have you. We'll probably have to end this fairly soon because I have somewhere I have to be, and I don't want my wife to be angry at me any more than she might be. I'm trying to get stories and whatnot together from old time logging in Vermont. Thank you so much for sharing. My grandpa logged with ponies in the 50s. Fantastic, GMB. Thanks for hanging out. We're going to probably wrap this up here, but if anyone else has a question for Grandpa while we still have him here, go ahead and ask it, and we'll try and answer it as soon as possible. Thanks for all of you that came and hung out. We'll try and do this a little bit more regular. If you guys enjoy it, let us know. If you're watching this later, let us know in the comments, and we'll try and do it more often and maybe schedule it further in advance. Try and give you a couple hours of heads up that we're going to be doing it. Give another 30 seconds here for anyone else that might have a question they want to ask before we sign off. Again, if you haven't got a chance to watch my newest video, go ahead and check it out. It's definitely one of the ones that I'm probably most proud of. Barry Hansen, thanks for coming and hanging out. Barry is from New Zealand. He's been a subscriber to the channel for, well, since I know before the last live with Grandpa, which was over a year ago now. I think it was December of 2017 that we did the last live with Grandpa, if I remember correctly. So anyways, you guys have a good evening. We will try and do this again. If you have questions for Grandpa, comment them on the bottom of this video, and we'll try and answer them the next time around. We'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.